committing to resources because things like Brawl really slow down your momentum. Because this Hunter deck struggles with the classic Hunter problem of not having card draw due to the fact that Master's Call and all these other great effects are B-centric.
Wow, great explanation, Sir Dan. Great explanation.
I was ready, man.
You were rearing and ready to go. I was ready for the Bomb Warrior Mirrors. You were looking forward to this match all day long. I could tell.
Whew. PNC with a mulligan of the Mecharoo. That's the only one-mana minion in the deck, and yet he threw that away. Things like Venomizer and Direwolf Alpha, totally get it, because those get better over time with the more Goblin Bombs you have. But this is how much PNC values having a better opening hand against Warrior, because some of the more powerful cards that are in Mech Hunter also aren't in this. For example, PNC doesn't have a mechanical whelp. That's a death rattle mech minion that you see sometimes in the Mech Hunter, but largely they've been cutting it to gravitate towards more aggressive lists.
Interesting.
Firebat having the Town Crier here is also fairly impactful, should PNC have had that Mecharoo, but it's also just getting him more impact minions as opposed to the other stuff that he usually has, which does. Also pretty decent pickup when the board gets full of too many big things.
Firebat looking like he's taking notes.
Yeah.
Which is is a good sign for Firebat fans, because Firebat, when he's on point, is one of the best hand readers in the entire game.
Right. Just a quick breakdown of what we can expect here. PNC does not actually have any of the 9 lives mechanical whelp combos. Instead, he is choosing a lot more lower drops. Like he has the double acidic swamp ooze, which was highlighted. We'll see if he's able to capitalize on it. I think one of the cards that people also underrate in this deck is Ursatron. We mentioned that it does struggle with card draw. And without tracking, Ursatron is another way to help get you to chain the magnetic abilities.
Yeah. It's chain magnetic abilities, and also can be paired with Fireworks tech to draw you 2 mechs from a single card, which helps accelerate that game plan a little bit further.
Yeah, another thing too is having Galvanizer early on helps you just pressure that much better. Wargear is interesting because Wargear on Replicating Menace does tend to have pretty good success rate. Menace is hard to kill because there's a lot of 1/1s that pop on the other side.
And he just saw Firebat use the one card that deals with Replicating Menace the best, and that's Warpath. So I think just judging by the curve, going Replicating Menace into Wargear seems like the best option, because then you can even follow that up with Ziliax, and then you have this giant mech that's clocking.
I like it. PNC kind of evaluating if it's anything worth dropping either of these 2-mana minions. Ooze obviously much better against Warrior for a multitude of reasons, but it's also tempo, and I think this is not one of those matches. Oh my gosh. What a pickup here from Firebat.
Yeah.
It's really big.
It's really big, and I was going to note in Firebat's primary deck, he has 1 Wrench Caliber and double Weapons Project.
Right.
So there are 3 weapons, and maybe PNC was thinking, okay, well, 1 Wrench Caliber, maybe I can start hedge against 3 weapons potentially. And he does have a second copy of Acidic Swamp Ooze in his primary deck as well.
Right. But just imagine if he didn't have that, you'd be able to start clocking your opponent every single turn for 3 until they had a rush man to deal with it. So I like that play from PNC, even though, yes, it looked pretty bad based off the way it lined up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Explodinator.
Great pickup here.
Is, yeah, Harrison Jones great, but Explodinator is also great. It is one of the highest win rate cards in pretty much any variation of Mech Hunter that it's included in. Reason being is because it just presents multiple mechs that you have to remove the potential of the magnetic minions to hit you for a lot of damage. But Firebat going to be able to cycle through this deck quite aggressively and pick up some removal tools.
This Harrison Jones is big because now Firebat can basically offset the weapon damage, and also he can contest the War Gear reasonably well now. Like, War Gear just isn't anything special because then Harrison plus weapon clears it, or Harrison plus extra change clears it.
And so the question becomes, does PNC deviate from the original game plan?
Here's the big problem with Mech Hunter. There's not much room for deviation if you don't play the 9 live Zul'jin package, which I don't think a lot of people like doing because it's just not very efficient. Some people started transitioning Mech Hunter into like Beast stuff. They'd play like a copy of Unleash the Beast. They have the Unleash the Hounds. You know, some play other like one-ofs like Mark Shot and Deadly Shot. A few just random stuff. And then they have Zul'jin to help transition in case they run into a late game scenario. That's not the case. I don't disagree with PNC's choice, though, because he's choosing to play a much more aggressive list, and had he gone up against the Rogues, for example, it'd be much more important to have that as opposed to
now.
Yeah, and in his secondary deck, he has added double 9 lives, double mechanical well Cairn. So if it goes to game 2, then he has that option and has cut a lot of that early game that's bad against Warrior, like Direwolf Alpha, Unleash the Hound, Mecha. So
personally, I like the mechanical well 9 lives build better for ladder. But because you just have a much more well-rounded plan in case your early game snowball doesn't work.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think PNC was making a meta read and making it much more focused. Not panning out, though, and Firebat having almost everything he needs to pick apart this game.
Yeah. And PNC did go for a deviation, like I said. He's trying to get some type of guaranteed damage, I think. Not that it really matters, because War Gear would have been guaranteed anyway, but he's likely to have a mech survive next turn, which means that he can slap a War Gear on it.
Yeah, I think PNC wanted to get more value off of things like his Direwolf Alpha. Also, War Gear still is relevant no matter what time you choose to magnetize it, except for right now. This Zilliax with Divine Shield is pretty problematic. There's one of the cards that PNC was looking for early game. Also, Fireworks Tech being a very important card, not showing up so far for PNC.
What to
didn't have the best start, but honestly had an okay start. And he threw away Mekaru Venomizer in order to try and find something else. So he threw away a guaranteed early curve to get a mediocre early curve.
So I can totally understand throwing away Venomizer even though you have Mekaru, because you're not trying to like the 3/3 doesn't do that much early on.
Yeah, and the poisonous isn't super relevant. It's basically like, do I keep a 2-mana, give a minion +2/+2? Would you keep Mark of the Wild in your opening hand?
The Mekaru on the play is what makes me kind of...
Yeah, because that gives you almost a guaranteed target to magnetize at almost any point in the game. Now, the nod to that could be Towncrier, but Firebat in his primary deck doesn't even have Eternium Rovers. So it's not even like that's a punish for you, being on the play.
He also had Direwolf Alpha, so he could have...
Yeah, exactly.
Could have had Mekaru Alpha in case it got to that point.
Well, if he wins, we can ask him about it. How about that, Dan?
Sure. I mean, I think the reality is when you have Mekaru and you don't have a lot of early magnetize ability except for Venomizer, then I think he felt like he'd rather have the Ursatron and the Fireworks Tech set up.
Sure, okay.
And like, let's be very real, a 1-mana 1/1 that doesn't exactly do much against Warrior. So I think maybe he was thinking big picture stuff, so I don't blame him if that's the case. The fact that it sounds theoretically correct. This Acolyte seems like a pretty decent combo with Warpath. The thing about it is that if I'm Firebat, I want to make sure I can deal with a Boommaster Flark. Boommaster Flark is definitely one of the surprisingly effective cards in this deck because it helps you get over that hump of dealing damage. And every single bomb is a threat for magnetic ability as well.
Let the pain speak to me.
Firebat being very liberal with his resources, but that's okay. That's what the Harrison Jones was helping him do, which is get a hit on board, even draw cards, and then now he has the luxury of being able to press for damage. He's taking the initiative at turn 6 away from Mech Hunter.
And he's almost always going to have the resource advantage. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like, PNC's not going to be really drawing cards. He's going to be playing multiple cards a turn.
this is real bad for PNC.
Yep.
Firebat's gonna get really far ahead. Weapons Project. Weapons Project, Militia Commander to get farther ahead on the board. Seems good to me.
Yeah.
I think throwing in the Attorney Rover isn't bad either. What do you think, TJ? He already played Ziliax.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe even Shield Slam just to buy even more tempo.
What now?
Just push more damage.
Shield Slam is an exchange for life, I think, at this point, because the 5/5 goes to 3/3, and then the weapon goes to 3/2.
Yeah. You also push a little bit more damage, that's the thing, but then you don't develop a 1/3 accessible. So Militia Commander, pretty obviously the Attorney Rover, pretty obviously the better choice there. Now PNC, this deck doesn't fight super well from behind.
No.
If you have 9 lives, sometimes you can. Especially like you mentioned earlier with Zul'jin, but Zul'jin's not even in any of PNC's decks. It's not in his secondary, it's not in his tertiary, it's not in his primary.
Well, I think the logic is that Mech Hunter should, on paper, be favored against classes like Warrior anyway, so you don't need that Zul'jin to go extra. That's, of course, in theory. If they curve out the way Firebat did and also, like, just remove... Like, one thing that I really appreciate about Firebat's playstyle is that if he senses an opportunity to be aggressive, he tends to do it.
Yes.
And it's something that I feel like a lot of players are always on the fence and they rope out. And then they sometimes like do a halfway play. Like I feel like Firebat doesn't really usually have that issue. He likes to just be like, he likes to just go and get it.
Now.
And sometimes it doesn't work out, but a lot of times it does. And I mean, he even got really far. He did well in Star Ladder, got to, you know, one of the top finishes there. Did well in the Hall of Heroes tournament. People joke about like, oh, Firebat's like, he's a streamer now, you know? He used to compete, but he doesn't care. He's not as good anymore. Like, if this guy really cares and focuses, he still has some stuff that I think other players aren't doing, which is being able to spot the right times for aggression.
Yep.
This is a fairly... Oh, actually, here, you want something cute? He could bounce his Harrison and actually do it again. Not that he would, it's just like a funny play.
But then he gives up the option to shield block.
Right.
And armor up and shield slam.
If he does do that,
well, he can still do that in Brewmaster the Harrison Jones. Like hit face, Brewmaster the Harrison Jones, shield block, armor up, shield slam. That's still a play. If anything, it just preserves his Harrison's body. He'd rather have the youthful Brewmaster get killed by the spider bomb that's magnetized onto this.
Right.
Than he would the Harrison. He can just play it again next turn.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think Brewmaster is really important for anything else here. Okay. Maybe he's willing to see what dies and then pick up anything else.
Sure, yeah. That makes sense.
There's also Dynamatic, or not Dynamatic, Mega Devastator. So, like, a Mega Devastator with Youth for Brewmaster also means that he's going to shut down any kind of big minion that can be built through Magnetic.
Yeah. I mean, all this is also being done without Dr. Boom, or without any real super powerful thing being done. He's just picking apart every resource.
Right.
The double weapons project, I think, has been the biggest thing that's allowed him to pick apart this board. And honestly, PNC is now down to 9 health after this swing, and now 5 health with both of these attack to the face. And he could shuffle a bomb in.
Yep. He can shuffle 2 bombs in.
Somebody order a bomb.
Yeah, if he wants to use the Brewmaster, that's true. But might as well just keep playing for tempo. Seems like to be the right choice. PNC doesn't have a great way to deal with minions. Okay, sure, why not? Just shuffle it back. Okay, he's gonna go for the ultimate value play and bring back the
nice
Militia Commander.
Yeah, that's. I mean, those are some common plays you see in the arena.
Yeah.
Just being able to Brewmaster and heal it back, utilize your mana efficiently. That is nothing. PNC concedes. Firebat takes a convincing Game 1 victory. But don't be too fooled.
So his primary deck is just perfectly suited in that middle ground to just beat Hunter. Now PNC, on the other hand, I'm baffled because he got crushed in Game 1. And his secondary deck, all it does is make it a little bit more greedy. That's all it does. It takes out Acidic Swamp Boost, Mekaru, Direwolf Alpha, and Unleash the Hounds. 2 of those cards, Unleash the Hounds and Mekaru, I think are terrible against Warrior. 2 are okay, Acidic Swamp Boost and Direwolf Alpha. And he would add in 9 lives, Cairn, and Mechanical Whelp to give him that mid-game punch.
Right.
What are those cards even in the secondary deck for if you're not going to queue it against Warrior? That's my question.
Well, what's the... yeah. No, I know you're totally right, and I think that... well, at least you're right in the sense that it adds more value, but PNC clearly wants to go for the early aggression. Galvanizer in his opening hand, though, that's good to start things off.
But Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah, it's not great.
It could have been a 9 lives.
Could have been 9 lives, could have been a Cairn, could have been a Mechanical Whelp. Any of those actually would have been fine.
Yeah, all of those I would have gladly taken over a Unleash the Hounds. He only has 1 copy in his primary deck. In his tertiary deck, he has added a 3rd copy, but that one looks like it's specifically for aggro. But we'll have to see how this pans out. Firebat, once again, with the Town Crier start.
Picks up another mech, totally fine. Firebat having the Town Crier and the early game is nice. So he has 2 rushers, the Militia Commander and the Ziliac, so he should be able to respond to any turn 3 play from PNC. I think he is scared of Replicating Menace. That is one of the harder ones to deal with, but Explodinator is also threatening in its own right. I wonder if Firebat's even thinking about using things like Omega Assembly early on to try and see if he can find an answer to his opponent's threats.
I honestly think that's pretty valuable.
It's just that a lot of the threat check stuff, like Dynomatic, don't do anything against this deck, so
that's
a little bit worse.
That's true to a pretty large extent, but there's also just things that can fit in quite nicely with your curve that make it awkward for the hunter, just like a Turnium Roller, or Beryllium Nullifier, or Safeguard. Like, there's a lot of stuff that can just fill out curves pretty nicely. The Coin Clockwork Goblin, that's the one I expected the least, but what it does do is give an option to Hero Power Shield Slam next turn.
Right, which lines up really well into the Explodinator.
Yeah. So if he Explodinators, he has a bunch of really good trades.
Right, and I think he's trying to reduce the amount of power on the board as possible, or the least amount of bodies as possible, so that things like War Gear don't run away with the game. That usually is a big turning point for the mech decks in general, because I know Mech Paladin is starting to get a little bit of more popularity, is that when you start hitting with War Gear and your opponent can't answer it, that usually means the game is over.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's for PNC, not going to even go for any kind of ding or trade, just try to pressure. And Firebat, he was ready for this with the Shield Slam. Excellent setup here by the former world champ.
He still got it, Dan.
Job's done. Bomb.
Don't even need to keep track of them anymore. That's cool. I like how this working out for us.
Can you imagine how insanely broken it would be if bombs would just put a shuffle in air quotes?
Put a bomb on top of your opponent's deck. Yeah.
And just draw it every time.
I mean, there would be pretty reasonable OTKs. All you have to do is bank a Reg Caliber and a Clockwork Goblin with an Augmented Elk, and you have 20 damage. 23 damage, sorry.
Yeah. This is actually a fairly... What's up?
I'm going to purposefully wait to talk until you talk.
This is
what I think it could happen. Oh, sorry, Dan. Go ahead. Replicating... Oh, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
That tracking...
Oh, were you about to say something?
That
I feel like Where were you gonna go? Should I go first or should you go first? I'll go first.
That tracking was fairly hard to actually deal with for PNC because Ursatron is super critical, but so is Boommaster Fark if he's going to have any semblance of ending the game. If you think about it, Boommaster Fark is an investment of 8 damage because you're summoning 4 0/2 bombs.
It also gives you a wide range of magnetic targets, a wealth of magnetic options, a horde of magnets.
Yeah. A legion of toys and little funny action figurines that you can throw at your opponent.
A gaggle of science.
PNC picks up the Replicating Menace number 2. So one thing that he can, man, if he had Fireworks Tech, I think this hand almost feels like it's part of the winning formula.
What to do?
The big thing is that Firebat has Zilliax, and Zilliax attached to any of those mechs on the board is going to be problematic.
Oh, yeah.
And if I'm PNC, I don't really want to trade. I think I want to Replicate Menace go face.
Well,
That's like a big punish opportunity for Firebat.
he could use Unleash the Hounds to trade. If you Unleash the Hounds,
Yeah.
no, he still can't do it. Still doesn't quite get there. He would have to Unleash the Hound, Spider Bomb.
Now.
Yeah, that just feels too inefficient.
Yeah, it's really inefficient. You're left with what feels like nothing. But this also might be the best Unleash the Hounds he's ever going to get. And he still gets the 3/1/1s. So he clears off the mechs. So he gets rid of the Zilliax value. Honestly, I think this was the best play you could have made. Now he still has mechs on board.
It is. For sure. Like, just because, like, Zilliax was too much of a threat. Like, he would lose, I think, if Zilliax came down, and he knows that.
And sometimes it's worth taking those risks, right? It's a one-of, it's a legendary, but you also saw Town Crier being played on 1.
Right.
And you have yet to see the Rush Minion come out of that, I believe.
Oh my gosh, Coppertail Imposter here has potential to be super sick.
Wow.
PNC just played Spider Bomb, and he also took a really bad trade. Like, he could have played Spider Bomb and Fireworks Tech and didn't.
Wow, this is surprising to me because of that, that he would go with the Omega Devastator. He had one in hand. He could have played that for tempo regardless.
Right.
The Coppertail effectively...
Oh, wait. Do they know what decks they're playing?
Oh, they do not.
So I think he's considering
He's playing around 9 lives.
Wait, but he saw Unleash the Hounds. Firebat just saw Unleash the Hounds, and if he's paying attention, there's one copy of Unleash the Hounds in the deck.
Yes.
And PNC, if he's playing the greedier 9 lives version with the secondary deck, he should know that it's not the version being played. Players don't announce what version of the deck they're going to play.
No, but the deck lists are public. You can see the player's primary deck, their secondary deck, and their tertiary deck. But as you mentioned, they can pick any one of those after Game 1. Game 1, they're forced to play their primary deck. Games 2 and Games 3, they can play any one of their 3 decks, primary, secondary, or tertiary. But they don't tell their opponent which one they played. And so if Firebat was paying attention, he should know that after Unleash the Hound is played, there was only 1 copy. That is one of the removed cards in PNC's secondary deck. So he wouldn't have to worry about playing around 9 lives.
Right. And it's not necessarily the 9 lives he's playing around. It's more like, what if the Whelp comes down and then I have to deal with the 7/7?
Yeah, but the thing I have with that is I don't think that's even relevant because he had an Omega Devastator. He played the Omega Devastator that was already naturally in his hand instead of the Coppertail.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm slightly on the fence about it.
Well, he still has the Militia Commander Weapons Project in this position. Still pretty solid. But
Use a Warpath right about now.
Warpath would be pretty good. Militia Commander here actually isn't that great because you want to use it to answer a Magnetic Minion. So yeah, this does make sense to go for the Orb Acolyte setup instead.
Speak to me.
Job's done. PNC would love to set up the Flark, but obviously does not want to give up so many cards to Firebat. That War Gear pickup, though.
That is a fantastic draw for multiple reasons. One, if he magnetizes the missile launcher, yes, he trades over the Acolyte, but the rest of his rolls die. Flark, like you said, either he sacrifices some of the value from Flark and only gets 2 bombs, or 1 bomb.
Right. Well, I think you have to even evaluate if you want to trade. I think you want to hit the face here. Put your opponent down to 9.
Yep, that's a pretty good, pretty darn good.
Okay, Firebat can draw. He has two options. He can draw for one card with the Militia Commander and kill the 6/6, or he can trade individually into a 1/1 and try to play a little bit of a longer game.
I wonder.
Town Crier, he has the mana for it pretty much regardless. So you might as well do that first because you pull out the last rush minion and then draw a card. This is where that Coppertail would have come in quite handy, I feel.
Right. No, it would have been a huge difference maker. He would have been able to play it last turn even, right?
Yeah, it would have been a 7 health swing.
Wow, Brawl pickup! That's big. Patience from Firebat.
Defend the gates.
Leaving up more 1/1 so that Brawl gets better. PNC has 4, 6, 8, 14. 14 damage this turn. He can simply attach Missile Launcher as a Blessing of Kings type scenario and deal an extra couple damage, but he does clear off his 1/1s. That's kind of an annoyance.
But Firebat did attack face with the Weapons Project last turn, which leads you to believe that he has a Brawl. So it would make you more powerful against Brawl.
Sure. Yeah, if anything, it makes you more impervious to what Firebat can do on the backswing.
Yeah, and then he has 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage he would push this turn, which means he would put Firebat down to 3 with 9 damage loaded up for the following turn. Actually, he'd push 1 additional, right?
Yes.
So this is 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So he'd put Firebat down to 2 with 10 damage loaded up.
Now.
Mark.
This essentially serves the same purpose because if Brawl comes out,
He's dead.
he's dead. But he also fills up his board.
Yeah, more magnetic opportunities. Shield block. Brawl shield block. Wow. Okay. Chances are Firebat clears his board. Seems good to me. Although, if he does, no matter how this is cut, he's taking 8 damage, so he's dead to a Leroy hero power. But
We can let him hope.
but Firebat can also play Ziliax and, or I guess in this case, Militia Commander, and just like clear off the 5/5 and then let it go. There's 2, 4, 6 damage. Guaranteed next turn. That's 15. I don't think he even wants to hit a 0-2, even though it's a free kill. And he might not even want to kill off these 1/1s. Yeah, chooses to hold off. Fireworks tech. Not enough board space. That's why. You don't want to give that board space for an opportunity to actually squeeze out a little bit extra damage.
Yeah. He can still push 11 with the missile launcher. It also damages his bombs, which forces Firebat to react and kill it, or else he's taking 8 next turn, despite him trying to delay that for another turn.
Yep, missile launcher. I like missile launcher in some capacity this turn, and you don't have space for the fireworks deck, so I think that's okay.
You do have space for the fireworks deck. You just fill.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Also, you kill off one of the 1/1s regardless, so you'd still leave 1 empty board space regardless.
That makes sense.
Just thinking about what to put it on. I think missile launcher is almost 100% slated. It's just. Where does it go? That's the question.
Yeah, 1 extra damage.
Yeah.
Moving Firebat down to 5. Wrench Caliber is not going to do it. A Mega Devastator Ziliax. This is something that Firebat's been waiting for.
For a long time.
Yep. And now, PNC needs that Spider Bomb. This is plus 5 life for Firebat.
Just 1 spider bomb left.
Oh, man.
Needs it right now. Is there anything else?
Tracking gives him another another attempt.
Yeah, Venomizer would allow him to clear
Yes,
it off.
Venomizer is pretty good. Missile Launcher is not it. So the way PNC can take this down is through a very brutal trade. Which is Leroy and something.
What to do?
Leroy Fireworks Tech? Ugh. He can miss.
The Fireworks Tech only works on mech minions.
Yeah, he would Leroy and then Fireworks Tech just
Oh, and
plus
trade.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume that he'd want to keep the minion alive, so I think he'd use his weapon.
Yeah, that's possible. Either way, that play would cause him to let Firebat gain 14 points of life,
Yeah.
which effectively just ruins all this hard work that he's done up until this point.
Right.
Now.
That lifesteal's so massive.
Who to shoot?
I guess
I
it would be
wonder
10
what
points
this
of life because he does. He's running out of time.
Oh, he could have used Missile Launcher to kill his bombs. Dude, he was actually 2 points off of lethal. Because his Missile Launcher would have killed the other 2 bombs.
Wait.
He needs to...
No, that wasn't that lethal?
No, because he would have to use the Fireworks Tech on a bomb in order to kill it.
He did. And then missile launcher. Oh yeah, 1 damage off. Because he gets 2 bombs and then 1, 2.
0 power.
I think he was thinking that he had lethal and he just did nothing that turn.
I don't think he had it.
He did not.
I think he needed to either he needs the Fireworks Tech to activate it,
Masterful.
but yeah, PNC is going to concede. Firebat
Yikes.
just having a little bit too much life, and PNC can't press in for the victory.